Hey there, welcome back. I was talking with someone earlier and they told me that they wanted to see how I specifically harvest and dry sage. So that's what we're gonna do today. I wanna take out all this dried up part. This is where it had a lot of blossoms. The blossoms have fallen and this is just dried. So this is basically kind of like cospicing. I'm just gonna throw that down on the ground. It'll turn into mulch. I'm just gonna take that dried part off. So now it's looking kind of unshapely, right? I want to try to preserve the shape as much as possible. I'm gonna just kind of take off this part right here that's just kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. I have a few good sage leaves there, so I'll take that in. This part's sticking out a little bit, so I'm going to take that one. So I'm just going to kind of clean up the back of this plant a little bit. So my rule of thumb is I don't want to take more than a third of the plant at one time. There's a lot of rules out there, but that's my rule. I don't take more than a third. Some people say you can take half, some people can say more, depending on whether it's annual or perennial or whatever. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come back and clean up some of these dried. Again, here's an example of one that's dried. See, there's no life on that. That's where the seed heads are. There's still one on there. There's a seed right there. I'm just gonna throw that on the ground. And if it grows another sage plant, I'm totally okay with that. So yeah, I'm just gonna take these off because this is dead material. It doesn't matter. That doesn't count in the 1/3. The 1/3 would be live material. I'm just gonna clean up the rest of this and then we're gonna go inside and I'll show you how I process the sage. This is winter interest in the garden for me, so it's going to be evergreen all year long. It's going to become the centerpiece in the wintertime. So I'll shape it up a little bit more, but I'm not going to take any more of this plant for another, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I don't need any more. That's plenty of sage. But I'll just come back and I'll shape it up a little bit at a time as I'm harvesting, and that's what's really cool about it. When you harvest, you're doing your trimming. When you're trimming, you're doing your harvesting on things like herbs. All right, let's go inside and I'll show you how I process it. So I'm going to take off some of the leaves that just don't look too healthy. It looks like maybe they were chewed on or they have some spots. I'm just going to take some of those off. And then I'm going to go fill up a sink with water and I'm going to wash it off as many times as it takes. Usually I wash it about 3 times. I don't spray anything. I don't spray any pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, or any of the other sides. But I just want to make sure there's no bird poop or any dust from the lawnmower or anything like that on it, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do with all of this sage. This is where it was touching the ground right here. This part right here is gonna be pretty dirty. Another way you could kind of back into this exercise is just kind of cut it apart like that. A lot of times, the bad leaves will just come off if you just shake it really well. But the good leaves that are really holding on to the stem, the plant, they're gonna stay on. They're robust. they're new. They're full of life, and they have no reason to let go of the plant. So you can just actually just kind of shake it that way. But all of these leaves, leaving on here, look pretty good. I'm looking at the underside of the leaves too to make sure that there's nothing going on there. So I'll have little pieces that'll look like this, and then I'll have some big woody pieces, which this is a woody plant, like this. And then I kind of categorize them by size, and that's how I tie up my bundles. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go wash these. Have one of these dish drying pads. I usually put mine under there just so I don't have a bunch of water pooling underneath. And then I'm just going to lay these out and just kind of let them dry off a little bit. Not stack too much on top of each other, just make sure they have enough air circulation. Now I'm just kind of checking the leaves again to make sure that there's no bad leaves. Just looking at everything extra close to make sure that we have a good quality product on our hands. Okay, we're back. I took a little lunch break, and we've got all of our sage. It's really good and dry. And I have grabbed my garden twine and some scissors. Okay, so I've gotten a pretty good sized bundle here together. And what I'm doing is making sure that there's no leaves on the bottom. We don't want to tie those leaves together because we don't want to have any kind of a bunching situation where there's a bunch of leaves in here that would have a chance to mold. I wouldn't be too scared of that word mold, but I just make sure that you have some room down here at the bottom. Now you're going to want to tie that really, really tight, because when they start to dehydrate, which is what we're doing, we're drying them, dehydrating them, they're going to start to lose some of their girth. So that's a pretty good little bundle right there. They're not all bunched together in one spot. They're just kind of fanned out. So I am going to tie one more little knot here so that I can hang it on I have hooks. You can certainly tie it on a dowel or something like that. Okay, so I have my bundle of sage, my fresh sage that we just collected today. And I'm going to hang it on this. Now, you can use a dowel, you can use anything you want. The most important thing that you need to know is it needs to not be in a lot of heat, and it needs to be not in a moist place. So I wouldn't do this in a closet. This is our mud room, and the back door is over there, the front door is over there, my office is over here, the washer and dryer is over there. But this has good airflow. And it doesn't get a lot of light, and it doesn't get a lot of heat. So this is why I picked this spot. Light, heat, moisture will degrade your herbs. So this is where I hung it. So I'm gonna hang this one here. Again, don't do it in a closet, because a closet, there's not enough airflow. It's gonna hold any moisture in, and there's just not enough airflow. But this is where I've had some hanging for quite a while. And if you really don't have a lot of space, like this is not a lot of space. This is about, I don't know, 12 to 18 inches long. If you're hanging a lot more at one time than what you really have room for, this is what I do. So this bundle right here, it doesn't look like much, but it was as big as this one, I'm sure. But it's dehydrated. It's lost a lot of its moisture. The leaves are just not as big and open. They're really dry. But what I'll do is I'll hang a shorter piece of twine over a longer piece of twine so that it's all the moisture's not bundled up into one place, okay? Now, one of the things that it's important to know is these leaves need to be really dry, crunchy, crispy. You can hear it when it drops. It's dry, so watch this. It cracks. You can hear it, you can see it, it's good and dry. Okay? So I'm just gonna pull all of these leaves off. You wanna check all the different spots just to make sure that, you know, the ones that are in the back or in the front or on the bottom or on the top are all in the same state of readiness, which these are. I checked them. Oh, it smells so good. And then I'm gonna compost these. You can hear how nice and crisp they are. Because if they were put up without being completely dry, in a jar, especially all closed up, then there is a chance that they could mold and mildew. I bought some herbs one time. I wanna say it was dried red pepper flakes. And I used it one time and then I went to use it again and it was all moldy in there. And I was so mad. But I think what happened was I had it over the pot, whatever I was cooking, and I was doing it like this, and I think the steam got up into the bottle. It was one of those big bottles. It was about this big. And I think that I did it. At first I was mad at the company, and then I think I did it because you don't want to have you don't want to let moisture get into your dried herbs or they will not be good. So see, my sage jar is empty. So I want to fill my sage jar back up again. But there's one more step before I just put all of this into here. Okay, so now I have sage to cook with in my kitchen. And then I wanted to show you too, this is a bigger jar that I have a lot more sage collected in. I don't grind it up to keep it in this state. I wait until it's closer to time to actually use it before I actually grind it up, because you know it's going to release a lot of those essential oils because it's being pulverized, and I want it to hold on to the essential oils as long as possible. And one of the things that I do is I use a oxygen absorber in here so that it absorbs all the oxygen. Oxygen, moisture, heat, again, are not our friends when it comes to long-term storage. So yeah, so now I have some sage. Oh, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, to hit that little subscribe button, and then if you want to be notified when a new video comes up, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that little bell that's down here. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And most importantly, if you know someone who's really into it, there's a little share button down here. You can click that share button and you can copy and paste it and send it in a text or whatever. But all right, until next time, y'all stay safe out there. Bye for now. Is that it?